How are you? This is my son for you guys who don't know him. He's 20 years old. Yes, I know. I was 15 when I had him. The best blessing I ever had. So today we're doing a podcast kind of. We're doing a video because a lot of my friends asked me how did I started my investment so soon? And lately I discovered that I made a lot of mistakes. And today we want to share with you guys with my experience, my personal experience, his knowledge. He reads a lot. And we want to give you our best advices. There are no, how you say, like the truth 100%. No, you guys gonna hear us and then you guys gonna decide which decision is better for you, because what's best for me, it may not be the best for you. So Matthew, are you excited about this? Please say you are. I'm kidding. So I have my questions here, and the first thing we want to start with is with my first investments. I bought my first investments in Colombia, where I'm from. And I'm gonna start saying the reason why I did it was because I didn't have the knowledge that I have right now. If I can go back, obviously I wouldn't do that, and I'm gonna tell you why. But my first investment, I think I was 20 or 21 when I bought my first house in Colombia. And the reason why I did it was because I wanted to go back there and live there with my son. So it was like, if I'm gonna live there, I should have the investments there, since I'm gonna be able to look at them. If something is wrong, I'm gonna be there. And also because I didn't have the knowledge about the loans here. Okay, back then I didn't have anybody around me. Okay, let's say I was 20. Imagine, what does a 20-year-old do? Nothing, just party and get drunk, right? So I didn't have friends that like could tell me what to do or advise me. So the only thing I used to hear was like, okay, this house is like $1 million, 700,000, and I was like, I can't pay that. Like I thought I was supposed to pay the house, like everything at once. Like I didn't know anything about loans. So that's what I was like, okay, the only way I can actually own a house is if I do it in my country, because they were cheaper. Like my house back then, my investments were like 60,000, 70,000 each, right? So it's easier to save 70,000 than 700,000, obviously, right? So now that I know, we're going to share with you guys this. So, Matthew, I want to ask you, what do you think about the investments in our countries? A lot of people, I see my friends, I see a lot of people investing in your countries. What do you think is a good investment? Why and why not?
I don't think it's a good investment because houses don't appreciate as quickly. Less people usually want to live there and buy houses there. I also think it's not a good investment because what you said, the loans aren't as good. So you'd have to either pay in cash or get a really bad loan. And usually, those countries also have worse like economic systems. So there's a chance that your house is going to be worth nothing or go down in price, when in the US that's very unlikely.
Right. And the thing that I learned is, if you guys want to invest in your country, this is what you have to think of. I think if you have people that, if you're planning to live in your country, right? Because you're like the retirement, you don't want to live here, you want to live there because, like obviously the dollar is worth more there. But then when you think about it, if you're going to live here, let's say the houses that I bought for 70,000, the dollar is or obviously higher now. So if I sell them and I want to bring the money back here, I actually lost. So that's one thing. Also, even if you want to go back there and live there, if you buy a house here, is always gonna go up. The dollar is always gonna go up. So let's say if you have a house here, average, like in 3 years, I'm saying average. Some houses are worth more after 3 years, maybe a little bit less. But let's say in 3 years you making a house around 80,000, $100,000, right? If you live in your country, right, how much is that? Besides, in your country, you make in like 15 years, that's what I made. You made $20,000 from those investments. Do you think it's worth it? Right? The other thing is if you rent them out, this is what you have to think. If you live there, that's amazing. Let's say a house, you buy a house and you're obviously gonna get a loan, but it gives you 300 cash flow. I'm gonna give the example from my country, right? Right now, $300 is literally what probably a professional, like a teacher, makes in a month with $300 in from one house. That this is not even counting how much you're making on profit because the houses are gonna go up every year, right? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, houses usually go up like 3-4% annually, and that's including the recessions and everything.
Right. So that's the I hope I answered these questions for the people that ask me if I think it's a good investment in our countries. So I'm talking about single family houses. I don't know about hotels. I'm talking from my experience and what I invest on. If I regret it, I mean, if I would invest that money here, we probably were making more than $10,000 every month. If I think about how much it's giving me over there, it's not even $300. So yeah. Next question: what is your top five investments that you recommend?
Um, Real estate,
That's
obviously,
your number one.
yeah, is the easiest.
Okay.
So, um, stocks, um, bonds are also just really safe, and businesses, which are the opposite of bonds, they have bigger return, but they're less safe. And then fifth, I would say just like anything that you use is a good investment.
Okay. And this is not in the questionnaire, but I have to ask this right now because we used to argue a lot about stocks. I'm not a fan of stocks. I'm into real estate 100%. But why did you change your mind from because the
Well,
stocks what used
because
to be your number one? Póngase bien. Wait, I don't. I want this to.
um, I think with stocks and ETFs and stuff in the stock market, they're definitely higher return, especially when it's cash. But real estate is really good when you take out a loan. Like it's a lot easier to make more money in real estate because of the loan. Even when you take the interest into account and everything, it's just easier. But with stocks, if you're really good or you're really good at like anything in stocks, or you even just um, buy the same stock or ETF over a long period of time, so you don't have that risk, you still have like something that will give you like 10% a year compared to the 4% of real estate. Even though, yeah, real estate is better when you have a loan. The difference is stocks is just liquid. So let's say I want to sell something the next day, I can sell all of it. With a house, it's a little bit more complicated. It takes a couple months to sell a house usually.
Okay. So what? How does the stocks work? Because I'm until today, I'm not. I don't really understand. I see these lines. I don't know who do like. Do you guys agree with me? Because What how
S-
does that work?
Stocks are just like a share of a company. So a company will be worth a certain price, and then people will buy that price, hoping for it to go up because you want to have ownership in that company. Some people buy because of dividends, or some people buy because they think a company is going to make more money in the future. So if you expect the company to make more money in the future, usually the stock price will go up. So you will invest in that company, and then the stock price will go up with the income that they just made.
Okay. What do you think about the traders though? Like, do you think that like this is something that you guys have to live? This is, I think, a lot of the traders are gonna disagree with this, but this is his opinion.
I think it's possible, but it's very hard because even if you risk manage properly, you can't always know exactly how much you're going to lose. Like you could technically put a stop loss, but you don't, like you can't say, "Oh, I'm going to win for guaranteed. I'm going to win 5 times every time I lose, or lose every 5 times I win." You like it's very hard to calculate that. So I don't believe in it. I know some people could possibly make it work, but it's a very small percentage. It's not worth it at all.
All right. That's his opinion. And what are the top three things a person should focus on when they decide to invest in real estate? Like, how do you know it's a good investment? Like, okay, yes, I'm gonna buy this property because this, and this. What do you always look at?
You look at the price of the house, obviously, compared to the other houses that have the same amount of bedrooms, same amount of square feet, rent. You have to make sure you're getting like a good deal for the neighborhood. You have to make sure you get a neighborhood that more people are coming in, so the population's going up. You have to make sure, people there, their income's also going up. The schools there are good because these are things that people look at when they want to move into a neighborhood.
Right. Okay. I also think my knowledge, real estate is always gonna go up. What when every time I see something is the first thing I look is the person who's gonna pay the rent is gonna pay my mortgage. That's like I'm not taking less than that. And sometimes, let's say I bought a house in Miami, and when I bought it, it didn't give me anything cash flow. It was like nothing. And I was like thinking about it. I was like, is this a good investment or not? And I doubt it. But I was like, you know what? I'd rather have this money here because I know the house is gonna go up. And what happened was the rent went up. Like you guys know, Miami, Florida, New York, all the rents are going up. So obviously, right now from that house, I'm getting $1,000 cash flow, and then on top of that, I already made like 150,000 in a period of 3 years. So like if you guys buy a house, and that's the main things I actually look at, like is this neighborhood or this city like developing, is it getting like the prices are getting higher. That's something I look at, and that's what I, in my opinion, I always go for. Like I think, what cities do you think I think my like Florida and New York, New Jersey are always going to be good investments, I think. What do you think?
I think it's a good idea. Yeah, the big cities will always be pretty good. But usually, I think just looking at crime rates, schools, and population changes is what I think is the best thing.
All right. And what do you think, why this is a question that a lot of people are going to be like, what why do you think a lot of people don't have money nowadays?
I think people spend too much money. That's that's it.
Yeah. What I think is like we spend more money than what we make. So it's either you lower your expenses or you actually look for an extra income. I wouldn't, like, honestly, it's really hard if you have a lifestyle. It's really hard to go down, but it's okay if you're gonna do for like a short period of time. And if you can get like an, I don't know, like I think online jobs or online businesses are a really good fit, because if you have a job and you work 40 hours a week, it's like you really don't have a lot of time to go to another job. So online, especially nowadays, online businesses are like the best choice. Next question: how do you recommend someone should manage their income, like percentage? Like, let's say if 20% goes to like my expenses, 10% for fun, 10% for vacation, 10% for savings, how do you divide that?
I don't really have solid percentages, but I do think you should at least be investing at least 10 to 15% and try to put it up as much as you can.
All right, so save 10 to 15% every month.
Well, invest 10
Invest.
to 15% every month.
Okay. All right. A lot, I hear this a lot, and some people recommend like stop taking vacation, stop buying shoes, stop buying this coffee, whatever. I don't agree with that. I think you just need to have extra income. The question you need to ask yourself is like, what else can I do to increase my income? Because my lifestyle is not gonna go down. Like, that's what I think. We are experiencing high rates on loans right now. Do you recommend people to invest now or wait?
I think that if you can find a house that you like and you can 100% afford the same payment forever because you don't technically know when interest rates will go down, I think you should buy the house. If you can't find a house that you don't like and that you don't think be able to pay the payment and speculate that the payment's going to go down because of the interest rates, I don't think it's a good idea. And that's it.
Okay. Also, what I think, this is not a question. I it just came to my mind. Do you think it's better to buy investments and not buy my own house? Like, should I live in my, like, get a loan for my own house?
Um, it depends. If if you can find a house where the mortgage payment is low enough to the point where you're not upgrading, like it's still in your budget, then I think you can. But I think I personally um like renting more because you can always move and it won't affect anything.
Right. I think a lot of people, even a lot of people are losing their house, their home, because they don't have enough money to pay, right? So if that's your case, I wouldn't recommend to buy a house and you live in there. I think you should rent first, and then with what that rent, you can pay your own rent. But if you already have investments, and let's say the rent where you live is like $3,000 and your mortgage is gonna be $3,000, I personally think that's okay. But if you're paying $3,000 rent and then you buy a house and you're gonna end up paying $5,000, $6,000 on mortgage, I don't think that's a good idea. So that's what I think. And buying real estate, cash or getting a loan, was the best decision?
Loan for sure. The reason loans are better is because, especially if you get a good rate, which if you wait long enough, you can refinance, always get a good rate. The reason it's good is because these loans, right, they give you bigger equity in the market. So instead of buying a house for, let's say, 100,000, you can buy one for like 500,000 or more. And the reason that's good is because that 500,000 will appreciate at like 4 or 3% instead of 100,000. So that will help you pay for the interest. Plus, also, like inflation is going to happen. Either like I think the average last 30 years is like 2 to 3%. So that also helps the case where paying it off later on also is better.
Yeah. Also, that's me too. I've been waiting for the interest rates to go down, and they're not gonna go down. I don't think they're gonna go down. I mean, they are, but not as when we were in COVID. You know, a lot of people are
Yeah.
waiting for those rates. I was waiting for those rates. They're not coming back. That was like one time thing because obviously we were going through this
Recession.
recession. So yeah. And something that you guys have to know is if you're gonna invest and you're gonna rent it out, even if the interest rate are high, if the person who's gonna live there is gonna pay for your mortgage, it's like it doesn't really matter. Like you're not paying it from your package, so it doesn't really matter. And yeah, actually, those were actually all that we were talking about here. I made all those mistakes. I bought properties cash. I, you know, that's why we're sharing this with you so you don't make the same mistakes. And what do you think about flipping houses? This is very popular. And I actually thought about this. I spoke to him because he's in charge of my finances, like the big money he's in charge of. So when I came with this idea, I was like, what do you think about flipping houses? He was like, no. And I was actually one day watching a show, and yes, you can make money, but at the same time, it's a lot of headaches. Sometimes, a lot of times, you're not gonna win. Sometimes you lose money, and something that I'm like, oh, I don't want to lose money. I'd rather have money slow, but like I don't want to lose. Maybe it change if you own a construction company. Maybe that changes a little bit because obviously when you are fixing the house, it's gonna be cheaper. Like you're not paying for work, you're doing it yourself. So that may change if that's your case, but like us, we don't own a construction company, we don't do constructions, we're actually paying for the work. Then I think it may be a risk, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I think basically what you said, and on top of that, like you're when you're flipping a house, most of the time you're only gaining the appreciation from the investments of renovation. You're not getting the appreciation of the house over time. So like you're missing out. I think if you are thinking of buying flipping houses, I think you should just fix it up and then keep it as a rental, and then maybe in like 2 years you can sell it tax free if you really want to sell it.
Right. Actually, this is we have one more question. This is something new that came to my mind. I did like three of those already, right? But also I was thinking about doing Airbnb. So Airbnb, this is what happens with Airbnb. If you gonna manage the house yourself, it may be worth it. But it's a lot of headaches. You gotta know how to put it on the market. You have to pay a fee to whatever Airbnb or whatever company. And then there are gonna be good months, but there are gonna be bad months as well. So sometimes you're gonna make money, sometimes you're actually gonna pay your mortgage from your pocket. What do you think?
I think just rent like a normal rental is always better in except one case where maybe it's, yeah, a little bit better for Airbnb, and that's if you have like a vacation home that you want to visit, so you can Airbnb it while you're not there. That's it.
Right. So you don't you if you wanna make that extra money. So I hope you guys liked it. If you have more questions, if you disagree with us, please comment in this video. And I want to thank you for doing this. I know it's not your thing, but thank you for sharing your knowledge. You know, I'm so proud of you. You're so smart, and this is just the beginning.